Whether or not you are focusing your clinical practice in the area of sick care medicine or whether or not it's in healthcare, irrespective of whether or not you're just beginning your clinical practice or whether you're a seasoned practitioner or perhaps like many of you in the room here, you're in a transitional phase. You and I all face some common challenges in our work, clinical practice, and in our business. When it comes to building and growing our practice, how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we distinguish ourselves from the competition, from the folks sitting next to you perhaps? Is it that I should add more products to sell? Should I add more services in my practice to differentiate me? Should I beef up my marketing program? Or perhaps is there something else I might consider? And when it comes to keeping our patients, focusing on patient satisfaction and loyalty, I can do all of the quality and service improvement I want, but does it really end up at the bottom line improving loyalty, or is there something else? And finally, perhaps most importantly, for those of us who are really dedicated and sincere about our clinical work and our mission and our vision, is our patients. And what I mean by that is the outcome, the takeaway, the end result for patients. What are the things that you and I can do? Because we struggle all the time, don't we, with patient compliance, patient participation. Is there anything that you and I could add into our practices or think about from a different perspective that might just magically help that patient to transform their life and their well-being, and not for just 6 weeks or 6 months, but for the remainder of their days? That's what we're going to explore here for the next few minutes. We come from an industry that talks about service all the time. We think we are in the service industry, don't we? That's what we've been told. We deliver intangibles to our customers. But I'm here to tell you that if you are focusing on service as your winning sort of to win out over the competition, it ain't going to work. Because I already expect great service from you, just as your customers will. Anything less is going to be negative. It's not service that will differentiate you from your competition, nor will it be based upon price. When I work with practices all over the United States, one of the biggest fears for those, particularly those transitioning from an insurance-based practice into cash, is my patients all want the insurance to pay for it, or they would be I'm afraid that they won't be willing to pay for this thing. And if you are differentiating yourself where you think you are on price, you'll maybe end up nothing more than the Walmart of a clinical practice. Why is it that in this time, this day and age, when the economy has been struggling, that companies like Mercedes-Benz and BMW are selling cars like crazy that cost 3 to 4 times another vehicle that's just as reliable and does all the same things? Customers aren't basing their decisions on price. We're all here because we need to improve our medical knowledge base. That's an essential element to the work that we do, isn't it? To get the state of the art to feed back to our patients, and it is essential. But we all know the old saying that your patients really don't care how much you know until first they know how much and that you care. The art of caring, overlooked. What is it that your patients would really want and that would distinguish you, that would improve customer satisfaction and loyalty and improve patient outcomes beyond your belief, and for which, by the way, they're happy to pay extra for? What I'd like to do is discuss a concept that may be foreign to you and is relatively new in the sick care business, but has been around a long, long time, and that's experiences. So what is an experience? Something inside of us that happens in an event that engages you and me on some individual level, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, physical. Experiences tend to be sensory. They involve all of our senses. That's how you and I are connected to the universe, isn't it? It's through our 5 senses. And they tend to have an emotional component to them. I feel great. I feel angry. I'm delighted. I'm whatever. Those are feelings. Those are emotions that we're relating based upon experiences in our life. But we could also look at experiences purely from a business standpoint too. You know, when I was a kid in the 50s and on my birthday, my mom would go to the store and she would buy eggs and flour and sugar, the basic ingredients to bake me a birthday cake. And it was only pennies to do it at that time. And then sometime, maybe it was in the late 50s, 60s, you know, Betty Crocker and others came out with cake mixes. So Mom no longer had to go buy all those raw materials. She could buy a cake mix. And she was happy to pay 3-4 times the price for it because it made her life easier. Those were things, goods. When I started having kids and we had busy careers, it got easier for us to just simply find someone else to even bake the cake. If it was a bakery or if it was a grocery store, we just go and buy the whole cake. And now we're paying $10, $20 or more just for a cake that my mom used to bake for pennies. This is where we think we are, isn't it? That we're selling services. But then when my kids got a little older, they wanted to have a birthday party. It was no longer enough just to go buy the cake. Now we have to go to Chuck E. Cheese or some other place and stage an event. A whole experience all around this cake. And now it's costing me $200. This is what you and I can be doing if we think about it carefully, critically, and also clinically. Because if we understand the role of experiences in our patients' lives, we may be able to participate in demonstrated changes in outcomes. I don't know about you guys, but every time I go by a Starbucks, it's always packed, isn't it? Somebody's sitting there with their laptop or reading a book, their bike's parked outside, the place is packed. Starbucks understands its product, and it is not coffee. It's the inherent value of an experience that an aura that's developed around Starbucks. That's why we spend that money for that coffee. And even in these rough times, the demand for experiences is becoming the predominant economic value and offering.